So welcome everyone to Talking Leadership. This is Eric Perez welcoming you to another podcast in what I'm hoping is a long-lasting series of podcasts on the leadership question and leadership issue. And today I'm joined by the CEO, Arty Raptis of Raptis Sons. Welcome, Arty.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
I'm good, my friend. Thank you for joining me. Look, this is the second podcast we've done together, which is really good. The first one was around Queensland Catch, and this one is specifically around leadership. So, look, by way of introduction, can I get you to cast your mind back and talk to me about the first time you had a leadership role?
Okay. Well, I have spent my whole career working for my family and my business, my family's business, and I was tricked into coming into this business. And I remember my father. I was studying at the time, and my father said to me that there was a staff member who had just left, and he was responsible for doing all the purchasing of seafood outside of our own boats. So we had like a third-party acquisition manager. And I was seconded into temporarily looking after that role, and it involved a lot of money. You know, like we had a significant budget. We were previously with the other manager purchasing a lot of seafood, and so I got tipped into it, not wanting it, but just as a temporary fix, whilst the family were looking for somebody to then go on and fit that role. And the weeks turned into months, and the months turned into more months, and I kept saying to my father, "Are you actually looking for someone?" And he kept saying to me, No, you're doing a really great job, and I think you should stay." I was like, hang on a second, this was only supposed to be like a temporary position. So that was my first ever role in the business, as you know, an important role, I guess.
Oh, okay. So you mentioned family run and that
Yes.
it was a key part of the business. But we'll come back to that. So in terms of your travels, Arty, what do you see a difference, if any, between leadership and management?
Okay. So I think with leadership, there is a definite specific role of being a leader and having a leadership role in a business, and there is absolutely also the need for managers and having people in the business to manage the business, the ongoing business itself. So I see the management roles are often functional roles, and it's a mechanism that will go through a series of processes that ensure that businesses are running well, and that those jobs are being done, and ensuring that that jobs are done in a responsible way, and it's very functional. I always describe managers and management of businesses as being very functional. Leaders, on the other hand, and leadership is something to me is something entirely different. Leaders is about people's desire to create and tell a compelling and a believable story, and naturally others will then follow. Often there's somebody who's quite confident and quite authentic, with very strong social and emotional skills, who can connect with other people in a real way, and they can encourage and help others to lead as well. So it's a form of teaching as well. They often these people can be intimidating, but I think that the real difference is that leaders will be often strategic thinkers, and they will be operating in a very compelling and believable way that people will have a desire to follow, whereas management is purely a function of the mechanics of business. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's great. So in your travels, Arty, often you see mistakes in subordinates, but when leaders make mistakes, and in this context how do you engage with the mistake you might have made in a leadership role?
Yeah, look, I think it comes with, naturally, I think leaders will often have, quite a large ego. They'll be extroverts. They'll be quite fearless in terms of, doing well or making mistakes. I think that strong leaders will have, little or no fear of making a mistake. But the most important thing is that they're mindful not to repeat those mistakes. All the good leaders that I've ever been involved with, I've seen that they will take responsibility for the mistakes that they make and use it as a mechanism to show and teach other people not to make the same types of mistakes. It often is a function of development and growth with leaders and people who are leading, and really without any risk, there's no personal development, and there's no business development, and there's no change or growth. So to me, strong leaders often, will take responsibility for those mistakes. And as I said, they often will just use it as a way of learning and showing others what to do or what not to do. Okay,
so again, in your travels, Arty, what have you found is the most difficult part about being a leader?
Look, I don't know about what the most difficult part is. I found what the easiest part is, I guess, to allow I'll start again. The most difficult part would absolutely be to keep a cool head under business pressures. There's no doubt that over the years there's been a blow up in our family or some sort of drama around something that's happened, and so being a leader and being at the forefront is really to try and keep a cool head. And the other thing too is often to allow others to participate in troubleshooting and keeping teams motivated and staying positive. It's really easy as a leader to take over and not allow others to participate, especially when you're a skilled leader or you're naturally have a large personality and you're very believable and you have strong emotional intelligence and social intelligence, that sometimes you always want to be the star of the show. But so it's difficult to kind of often, allow others to participate. Also to support people during, difficulties, both personal and professional in the workplace, can sometimes be a tough one, because if you're an effective leader and you're a people's person, you tend to get to hear about not only the professional issues but personal issues as well, and how it is that you deal with those, and also to help others to shine and empower others to be able to let things go and not micromanage people and allow others to make decisions, can also be quite difficult. And you really need to continue to remind yourself of and others the best way to be, a good, strong group of people, and to have that A grade run on side, and to keep them all motivated, and yourself to stay motivated and motivate others when during difficult times, or when the chips are down. There's some of the tough ones that I've found with the hard parts of being a leader.
Okay, so how do you measure success as a leader?
It's an easy one. That's always been to try and teach others to be leaders, and to have the confidence to really sort of back yourself out and allow other people to shine, to really to be able to identify, who those people naturally are and their personality traits that will naturally, become leaders, and to sort of show them and teach them to lead and to do it well, and also, critiquing leaders by looking at the commercial success, with a combination of their relationship and with other people in the team. So yeah, something like that. I guess it's just to sort of, just to summarise, just to really sort of let others have a turn.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
Yeah, that would really be it.
So can I ask then just your views on a couple of statements here? So first one being, on-the-job experience develops better leaders. What's your view of that?
Yeah, look, I guess some people, they show natural leadership qualities, and others take time. On-the-job experience allows, leaders to develop and grow because it combines business pressure with decision-making and interpersonal engagement. Learning to grow as a leader and to lead others on the job when faced with business pressures shows people's weakness that can then be worked on to create a well-rounded leader. So I guess what I sort of mean by that is that really on-the-job experience will allow people's natural abilities to shine, whereas often it's difficult unless they're on the job doing it. That's
Yep.
really it.
Yep. Okay. Next one. Formal education helps to develop better leaders.
I'd say probably in my case, no, and in other people's cases, yes. I think having a general business understanding through education is normally a good way to fast track the skills that are needed, in a general commercial business setting. But due to the nature of competition, there's often not enough time and money to teach business basics. So you really need to be getting people in who have got those formal education skills as the sort of bare bones level, rather than trying to show people the mechanics of business. So that's kind of almost like a bare minimum requirement. In regards to the leadership aspects, I've got a pretty strong view that most leadership skills are learnt in the business environment, where commercial pressure can showcase people's capabilities. So you put people in that sort of business pressure and cooker, and you can start to see what people are capable of or not, and you can see their shortcomings, and then you can sort of identify what those shortcomings are, and then you can work on those things. You can sort of further start skilling people up, focusing on what their problem areas are. So it's almost like reverse leadership education. So you sort of throw someone into the pressure cooker and see where their flaws are, and then focus and develop on their weaknesses to create a better leader.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So you kind of, I think I know where you're going to go with this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Leaders are born, not made.
Yes. Well, I don't know. This could be a bit controversial, but
that's okay. Go for it.
I think great, amazing, talented leaders are definitely born. There's no doubt about it. Just the description of leaders in a general sense, can be anyone. A leader can be shaped, they can be trained, they can be skilled up to be a leader, and generally speaking, they can be effective in their duties, to lead and teach others to lead. That's fair enough. But skills like empathy, camaraderie, understanding, social and emotional intelligence, which is a big one for me, believability, confidence and authenticity, and humility, for me, they're wired into our DNA, and those are some of often the difficult things to teach. social and emotional intelligence is very, very difficult to teach someone, and you can really see the difference between somebody who's got it and somebody who doesn't. We can all pretend to be those things, but commercial pressures and realities will make, people's natural personality come through. We tend to be, and I've seen it many times where we're caught out, or you catch people out trying to be something that they're not. So you can either be a leader or you can be a great leader. One's taught and the other one's you're born with.
Yeah, okay. It's you're not the first to suggest that emotional intelligence or that social intelligence is important in a leader. When I was speaking with Brian Skepper from Sydney Fish Markets, he was quite frank and upfront, and he said the social and emotional intelligence skills for him was something that he needed to learn and understand that was a deficiency in his leadership suite of skills. And he said it took time, and the most important thing from his perspective was to listen, to be able to be a good listener in the environments in which he's working in. So, I've heard this before. So I'll take you to the next set of questions, and this one's around some of the research that I'm doing, and like in a lot of the podcasts I've been doing, I'll declare myself a very early career researcher. So I've got time to make some mistakes, I think. But for me, in terms of the thesis that I'm running at the moment, it appears to me, based on the literature, that strategic thinking and foresight are the two key leader capabilities that we're going to need into the future. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Strategic thinking and strategy in general is one of those things that, it requires more than the sum of one person. It needs a number of people to create strategy. And, you can come up with strategy yourself, but you really need to engage with others to be able to add to the strategies or the kind of general path that you're going down. And often where you end up might be slightly different to where you initially thought, but it might be only slightly different. And by engaging in it, and again, it's one of those social and emotional intelligence pieces where, you're engaging with others to help you to sort of formalise your strategy. Because it's got to be believable, right? You've got to get people to engage with you and subscribe with you, and you can share your views. And by allowing others to participate in that journey, where you can, have a compelling story. This is where I want to go. That's where the goalposts are. This is where I'm going to put the ball. That's where I'm going to kick it to. You can have others around you saying, well, this is the shape of the ball, and this is the sort of the sort of zone we've got to head to. This is how many people we need, and this is what's practical and possible. And so, I think strategy is one of those really critical key traits that leaders and good, strong leaders need to have, which is combined with, as I said, engaging with others.
Okay, so the other element of that is foresight. Now, that is that capacity to look into the future, but not just 5 years away or 10 years away. It could be a month away. It could be a week away. What in your travels have you seen of people applying that leader capability in jobs, or even from yourself?
A lot. It's a really unusual one. And I can only reflect on it in my own experiences in my own business. And a lot of the really good ideas and those foresight sort of type thinking come not necessarily from the people, from the leader themselves or from the leadership team, the senior leadership team. Often those foresights will come from the second tier or the third tier down within a business organisation. They tend to be younger people. They tend to be people with, different types of thinking, that younger, more creative thinking. And again, you've got to be confident enough to be able to steer yourself into the right place to look for the right thing. The strategy and foresight are both very, very different things. And I've found in my experience that foresight comes often from those very left of centre, outside the box sort of type places. That could be anything from, the new young intern that's come into the business or it might be the young receptionist, or it could be one of the young factory workers that can come up with sort of foresight type views and thinking that often will be almost like fantasy, that you fantasize about something, and it's a sort of almost like a sort of higher level goal, and you sort of turn that fantasy into a reality. I know that might sound a little unusual, but that's in my experience.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, final question, Arty. What would you say to a younger version of yourself about what constitutes being an effective leader?
What would I say to myself? I'd probably say to myself to not try and be someone else, to really be myself, and take the leadership style and the cues that work for me, and that are parallel to my own personality, because and I've got an example of this, but authenticity is really the key to success. If you try to replicate or mimic someone else that don't have the same personality traits as yourself, it will always ultimately emphasize your weakness. To be the better version of yourself and not someone else. An example of that is that my father was one of the most incredible entrepreneurs, and he was very, very different to me. And I sort of worked out, probably not that long after I started working with him full time, that I couldn't be him, and I didn't want to be him, and that I wanted to be me. And I could never be my father. And even though he was, regarded as one of the best and greatest entrepreneurs of this industry, that I just wasn't that, and I wasn't him. I was me. And so I've always had the confidence to really be myself and not try to be someone else, because as soon as you try to be someone else, you're just going to get caught out every single time. I've seen that with some of my other staff who have tried to be someone else, have tried to replicate someone. They may try to replicate myself, and it just never ends well. You've got to be the true person to yourself and create and become the best version of yourself. And if you've got those natural abilities, those natural, big personality traits, the personality traits that will, that you can potentially become the lead role in the cheesy B-grade theatre of business, that you need to be the best version of that and not try to act somebody else's part. That's what I would tell myself, and that's what I did tell myself very, very early in the piece. And I only had that opportunity because my father was just this huge figure that I knew that I couldn't be and didn't want to be, and I only wanted to be me. And everyone used to always say to me, "Oh, your father's so amazing," and he was, and he is, and he was, and I just wanted to be the best version of myself. That's what I'd tell myself.
That's on a very positive note. And look, one of the things I was curious on, and thank you for your time, Arty. You mentioned that
No worries.
You've grown into your leadership role in a family business. One of the things I'd like to explore with you down the track is this idea of different business structures. And so I'm talking to people from lots of different industries, and I find that in the seafood industry, it's very much family-orientated businesses.
Yes.
And I will pick your brains on that at some other point, but not right now. So
okay.
I'd like to thank you for your time, Arty.
Thanks, Eric.
And for everyone, that was Arty Raptis from Raptis Sons joining us on Talking Leadership. I'll catch everyone on the next podcast. Thanks, mate.
See you, Eric.